This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
Hey, oops. Right, good afternoon, folks. Great pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to Ayesha Siddiqua, who's a veterinarian from Bangladesh, who's joined us to do a PhD funded by a Bangladeshi Prime Minister scholarship. Ayesha is a veterinarian, worked for numerous years in Bangladesh, working mainly on poultry and Marek's disease. And she's been with us now for 12 months on a PhD on the topic of the global burden of animal disease. And I'll hand over to Ayesha. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor Mark, for giving me the floor. My research topic is disease frequency estimates to support estimation of the global burden of animal disease. Again. Today I'll talk about background of my study, research plan, progress of my study, and project timeline. At first, I want to talk about background of my study. Livestock always plays an important role in socio-economic development of a country. It's a percent of our life. 40% of total agriculture product comes from the livestock sector, and 1 in 5 person involves in livestock for their income and livelihood. Livestock production systems are changing continuously. There are some factors which are responsible for these changes. One of these is the safe food. Previously, we were concerned about the only production increase, but nowadays we are concerning having food safety. Another important issue for livestock production system changes is the animal welfare. There are the indicators for animal welfare is a good health, safe, and comfort for the animal, free from disease. If we can ensure the animal welfare, then it will increase the livestock production. Another important changing factor is climate change. So there is a data from FAO. They're saying that more than 14% greenhouse gas emission comes from the livestock sector, and 2/3 of this comes from the dairy sector. So this is responsible for the climate change, and which is responsible for having more infections. And this is the cycle which is also responsible for livestock production system changes. Another important trait is antimicrobial resistance, which we know as AMR issues. 2/3 of total antibiotics are used by the livestock sector, and in developing countries, livestock sector are using 4 times higher the antibiotic than the requirement. This is the disease which is has a direct negative impact on livestock production system. It has a negative impact on socio-economic development of a country because disease influence the food safety issue. It degrades the animal welfare. It influences the climate change, and it also responsible for having overuse of antibiotics, and it has the economic loss and social loss also. If I go with an example, in Bangladesh, we had bird flu in 2007, and after the end of the financial year of 2007 and 2008, we count the economic loss due to bird flu nearly 40 billion BDT. And the consumption of poultry meat and egg dropped more than half. There is another loss due to disease. If we say about the bovine spongiform encephalopathy, the mad cow disease, When it occurs, our government, Bangladeshi government, banned importing the meat and bone meal for livestock sector, which increases the feed cost. There's a survey from CDC. They say that more than 40% of foodborne illness comes from livestock sector and nearly 20% comes from the dairy sectors. Every disease has two types of consequences: tangible consequence and an intangible consequence. Tangible consequences which we can measure directly, that is the farmer incomes and prevention and treatment cost, biosecurity cost for the animal, and intangible cost which we can't measure directly. That is the psychological stress of the farmers and animal welfare, environmental impact. For both of these cases, we don't have the adequate data. We're saying this inadequate data because data are recording regularly by Animal Health Authority and industrial body, but this data is not suitable for secondary use or to have any decision or further use for research. This is also inadequate because when the industrial body or authority collect the data, they don't want to share this data because they collect this data for their own purpose, and maybe due to their policy, they don't want to share the data. And we need the data on livestock population, their productivity, and the resources they use for their production, and disease frequency estimates to have evidence-based decision making. As I said, that we don't have adequate data, and this inadequate data is a challenge to make any decision globally, which we can use for global purpose. I have an example for there because in Bangladesh, as we don't have the data record, we can't collect the G2G, the government to government certification for disease. And in many cases, we can't afford the export our product, agricultural and livestock product to other countries. So this is a challenge that we don't have the adequate data. And to meet this challenge, in 2016, World Organization of Animal Health, they adopt a resolution to develop methodologies which can count the socio-economic and environmental impact from diseases, which was started late August in 2020, which they called the global burden of animal disease, and in short, we are calling it GBADs. If you go on to the detail of the GBAD, we can follow this link, the gbats.org and animalhealthmetrics.org. GBAD has the aims. One of aim is to quantify the burden, socio-economic and environmental burden of disease. And GBAD also wants to have positive outcome from the livestock. And another aim of GBAD is to contribute for ensuring the sustainable development goal by having a zero hunger, good health, well-being, gender equality, decent work, economic growth, and responsible production and consumption. This is the GBAD analytical structure. In GBAD, they will have the livestock population, where they will count the biomass and the economic investment. And after that, they will have the animal health loss envelope. Animal health loss envelope is the difference of the production cost with disease and the production cost without disease. So that here will be the how much we are losing and how much we are spending. This animal health loss envelope will be attributed by absolute burden and also attributed by relative burden. Finally, GBAD will have economic impact. This economic impact will be assessed by three sectors. One is agriculture, another one is non-agriculture, and third one is government sectors. Agriculture sector will cover production cost, consumer shop, international trade, and non-agriculture will be related with the tourism, travel, lodging, and food. Government sector will be provided by the quarantine, surveillance, vaccination. And these three economic assessment will give the animal health loss envelope data. As I said that one of the GBAD aim is contribute to sustainable development goal. So my study will also contribute in achieving sustainable development goal by contribution goal 1, goal 2, goal 3 and 5, 8, 9, goal 12, 13 and goal 15 by contribution by giving information, epidemiological information of disease, and also ensuring production with food safety, and it will also give strategies to achieve One Health approach. This is the background of my study. Now I want to talk about my research plan. This is my research plan. First, I will have the literature review. Then we'll go for our first research chapter, appraisal of the available animal health data as a contributor to GBADs. And our second research chapter will be assessment of the plausibility of existing animal health data sets. Our third research chapter will be expert opinion as an alternative to direct estimation of disease frequency. Then will be the estimation of GBAD for the Victorian dairy industry using expert opinion. Finally, we'll have disease prioritization and general discussion. So this was the research plan, and I want to talk about my progress. At first, I want to talk about my literature review. My literature review will cover the topics: health information inventories, GBD and GBADs, disease classification method, health economics, sampling methods, and analysis of sampled data. And it will also have the information about the disease which need priority, is the disease prioritization. So the global burden of disease is a project of which is run by World Health Organization. It was started in 1991, and the first report was published in 1993. They quantify the frequency of infectious, non-infectious, and trauma-related diseases. They use a metric to quantify the burden of disease. This metric is known as disability adjusted life years, that is the DALY. For DALY, they need to know the calculate the years lived with disability and years life lost. Here the life length, total length of the life, and this is the portion, the part when one have the disability, and they may have early death. If they have one have early death and the disability, this both will be the combination of this DALY. And the GBAD will be the, here GBAD is the animal, is the equivalent with the World Health Organization GBADs project. And GBAD will provide baseline data on social, economic, and environmental impact of animal. It will also increase society's awareness for resource allocation, for the production system, and animal health problems. I have completed almost my literature review. After completion of my literature review, I want to talk about my first research chapter, that's the appraisal of the available animal health data as a contributor to GBADs. If we live in a perfect data world, then everyone will collect, record their animal health information, health and disease information, so the GBAD counting will be very easy. But we are not living in a data world. So we need to quantify the global burden of disease. We need to record the data regularly. Some animal health authorities and industry bodies are routinely collecting their data. So the question is, can we use these secondary data sources for our GBAD purpose to reduce the cost for collecting the data and to purpose the GBAD, to serve the purpose of GBAD? So the aim of this chapter is to develop a methodology to assess the usefulness of the secondary data set as a contributor to GBADs. For this chapter, we're looking for the daily data, and we are mapping for the industrial body and the animal health authorities who are collecting the data. Then we found that Agriculture Victoria, Dairy Australia, Commonwealth Science and Industrial Research Organization, Agriculture Australia Bureau of Agriculture Research and Economic Science, DataGen Australian Bureau of Statistics, Livestock Improvement Corporation New Zealand. They are regularly recording their animal health, production, and health information. And we communicate with them, and this is one of the critical approach of this critical appraisal. Because at first I said that they collect their data for their own purpose, and they don't want to share the purpose for secondary uses. So we communicated with them, and we have only response from Agriculture Victoria and Livestock Improvement Corporation New Zealand. After having these two data, we are starting our critical appraisal to reach the goal. So what information we need to estimate the GBADs? First, we need the accurate count of disease event, that is the numerator, and accurate count of size of the animal population at risk, that is the denominator, and economic cost of disease. So the GBAD will be count of disease events divided by size of the animal population at risk and multiplied by estimated cost of disease. For having the critical appraisal, I have followed Rick's survival methods to adapt a framework, and we are working on Agriculture Victoria road data. Road is record of disease event. Agriculture Victoria collect data. If there have any unusual or emergency events, then the private vet or government vet call the Agriculture Victoria. They have a hotline number and they have an expert team with members. Then they contact with the herd, collect the samples or give the necessary suggestions. After that, the diagnosis, they record the data as a road. So this is the road data. They have the location, spatial coverage, and they have the date of investigation and the diagnosis time. This is the workflow of road. If they have if any infected farm animal in a farm, then it may be ill or not ill. If it is not ill, then it will not notify to road. If it is ill, then it need to have the vet care. If it doesn't seek the vet care, then it will not again notify road. If it seek vet care, then need to have the sample collected. If they don't collect the sample, then it will miss again. After collecting the sample, having the false negative result, it will not record as a road. If it has the positive test result, then it need to inform the vet authority. After notify to the vet authority, if vet authority forget to inform road, then it will not notify as to road data. And finally, if that authority inform the road Agriculture Victoria, then it will record it as a road event data. So I said that I have adapted the survival framework for critical appraisal, and I have fixed the attributes. And here my GBAD components, I said that I need numerator and denominator. For numerator, we are using here Agriculture Victoria road data, and denominator will be the agriculture census data. So eligible population, we have eligible population because we are looking for the daily data. We have the eligible population, but the unit of interest was no, because we are looking for the information at the animal level, but here the information is at herd level. Data completeness, simplicity, data management, and stability and sustainability was yes, because Agriculture Victoria is collecting this data from 2011. So they are running this project from regularly. So the data management and sustainability, yes, but for the spatial and temporal coverage, as we are looking for our GBAD purpose, we need more information. And as we have seen the workflow, the representativeness was no, because it was not serving the purpose for GBADs. So repeatability also related with the representativeness, and bias, we need to talk with the data source to have more information to know the bias. And disease classification, for this data set, we can't classify the disease. So this is no, and we need more information if it can help us to adjust the disease classification. And as we don't have the disease classification, we can't estimate the cost of the disease here. So this is the chloropeth map of Victoria, which we have made from the road farm having per 100 farms. Here we can see that 10% farm has the investigation here and here. This maybe they have the request by the hotline number, or the vet was more careful to having the data. So due to the road data, road workflow, we have here more information, and other area has less information. And this dark is the metropolitan area. After having the first research chapter, we have planned for the second research chapter, because the second research chapter will be the assessment of the plausibility of existing animal health data set. In our first chapter, we have the suitability of secondary data source. In this second chapter, we'll go into the detail, because first chapter was giving us the theoretical information, and this research chapter, the plausibility, will give us a credible data set for GBAD. For this chapter, for agriculture Victoria Road data, our critical appraisal says that it was not suitable for having the plausible data set. So we want to work with the Livestock Improvement Corporation New Zealand data set for this chapter. And LIC is a farm-owned and LIC is farm-owned and controlled biotechnology business. They use the breeding techniques for increasing the agriculture productivity. And LIC has started in mid-90s, and they use a app for their data recording, animal health production, and health information. The app is known as Minder, and the data recording system they call is the Minder approach. Here they collect the data. They can use collect the data by using laptop or mobile, and they don't need internet. They can do it with or without internet, and they can record the data more than one farm at a time. So after recording the data, they go for the analysis of the recorded data. Some LIC are keeping their record very good, and some are not. So the aims of this research chapter is, as we are going to have nearly 8,500 data set. So we are going to identify a plausible set of animal health record. And after having a plausible set of animal health record, we will report frequency of each major dairy cow disease by using that plausible set of record. And here is the plausible means the believable one. If anyone says that in their farm in 2021, they don't have any lameness, so we are not going to believe them. If anyone says that they have 100% lameness in their dairy cattle, then we are not going to believe them. So 0% and 100%, both of them are not believable. But if it says that in my farm, I have 3 to 5% or 4 to 7% lameness last year, so we are going to believe them. So the plausible range will be the believable one. And for the plausible will be give us an absolute minimum and absolute maximum range of disease. After having the plan for second research chapter, we will have the plan for our chapter 3, that is expert opinion as an alternative to direct estimation of disease frequency. Livestock Improvement Corporation Minder approach. Sometimes it not be cost effective or maybe feasible for many countries. For me, in my country, Bangladesh, is not feasible because most of my dairy are backyard dairy. Nearly 1.3 million backyard dairy we have, and the herd size is 3 to 5. We have some intensive dairy, and they are the size of the dairy are 60 to 70 per heart, animal per heart. So the number of animal is very low there. So if we want to set up and run a MINDA approach there, it will not be cost effective there. So we are looking for a cost effective method. If we can use the expert opinion in the regarding field in New Zealand to have the estimation same or similar with the MINDA approach, then this approach will be a cost effective method for developing and less developed country. So the methodology for this chapter is developing a questionnaire. We want to develop a question focusing on the frequency and cost of the disease. And we need to identify experts. We'll use the purposive and snowball sampling. For purposive, we'll very careful to select our expert who can purpose the give information on disease frequency and cost of disease. And for snowball sampling, we'll ask one expert, and we'll request that expert to suggest us more expert in the regarding field. And we can go for expert elicitation approach, the SEBRA approach. And we'll also go for Australia, New Zealand College for Vet Scientists to have the appropriate expert to serve our purpose. Then we'll compare the data from expert opinion and with the MINDA approach to know the similarity or same. This was our third chapter, and I'm going to talk about my research chapter 4, that the estimation of GBADs for the Victorian dairy industry using expert opinion. Here G is in bracket because we are going to estimate burden of disease at a state level, at the Victoria, not in global. So we are keeping this in a bracket. For this chapter, at very first, in our first chapter for the critical appraisal, we found that agriculture Victoria road data was not suitable for having the GBADs, but we are not going to stop. We want to count the burden of disease at Victoria. So we are after having that chapter, we want to apply that method in Victoria, the expert opinion survey data in Victoria, to have the disease frequency and cost of disease as in Victoria to estimate the burden of diseases. And we'll combine the expert survey data, expert opinion survey data with the agriculture census data to estimate the GBADs. And this was the fourth research chapter. After having the fourth chapter, we'll start our fifth research chapter, that is disease prioritization. Disease prioritization always very important to know which diseases need more attention and the resource allocation. This chapter will develop a methodology to prioritize the diseases on basis of economics, social and environmental impact of disease and animal welfare. And this is all was my research chapter, and this is my progress plan. Now I want to talk about my project timeline. So literature review, I have said that I have almost completed my literature review. And for the first research chapter, appraisal of the available data, we have mapping our available data, and we know the requirements for GBADs, and we have added a framework for appraisal attributes and the framework, and we have started the appraisal conduction. And for the second chapter, we are looking for the literature review to have the possible range on major dairy disease classes, dairy. And for the chapters 3 and 4 for expert opinion, we are on the way of formulation of questionnaire and ethics applications. And we are hoping to complete our study within time. And this is all was my study plan and progress and time frame. And now I'm thankful to my supervisors, Mark Stevenson, Simon Fairfair, and Caitlin Fairfair, because literally they were with me. I was stressed and I was trying to giving up. They are always pulling me up to be here. And thank you, my committee chair, David McGill, always being supporting with me, and my fellowship authority, Prime Minister Fellowship, and my office, still I'm working there. They count me as their staff, Department of Livestock Services, Bangladesh, and is under the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, Bangladesh. And thank you everyone who are here in person for being supportive to me, and who are there in Zoom for their wonderful support. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Ayesha. Nice presentation, really well done. What I really liked about what you did was to relate the studies that we're going to do here in this part of the world, Australia and New Zealand, and always relating it back to your part of the world in Bangladesh. Yeah, I think all three of us want to send you home with a good set of skills that you can apply in your country. Yeah. Okay, so any questions from the floor? Have we got things in the chat? I can't see them. You on there, Aaron?
I am. No questions at the moment. I've just popped a message in there asking people if they'd like to enter their questions when they're ready. Here we go. Can you see the chat there?
Now, hold on, what's the chat? I'll need my glasses. Aisha's got better eyesight than me.
I'll read out the first one. Apologies for the mispronunciation. Meritzel says, well done. I have two questions. Question one, for the literature review, have you considered zoonotic diseases? What's your opinion of Z. daily? And two, will the disease prioritization be at global or local level?
Yeah, for first one, the literature review, we consider the zoonotic diseases because we want to know the burden of the disease. And when we're saying that we want to quantify the social impact, then we must consider the zoonotic diseases. And for the opinion for Delhi, for GBAD to Delhi, because Delhi use the good health or healthy, but for livestock, we have to count the production and also the animal welfare, but Delhi is using for the zoonotic diseases, to count the impact of zoonotic diseases. And the prioritization is, we'll try to develop a method which could be used in global purpose for prioritize the disease. And we'll try to establish a method. So as I said, that example, I can use it here and I can use it Bangladesh in the same way. So we are trying to establish a
So both local and
yeah. When we are my studies here, I will do this here, but the methodology will be appropriate for not only Australia, in any other country as well. So we're trying to develop this method. Is it make sense, or did I grab the question correctly? Good, thank you.
We don't have any other questions at the moment. If anyone else would like to either unmute yourself or pop a question in the chat for Ayesha, or you could indeed follow up after the seminar with an email, and I'm sure Ayesha would be happy to answer any questions. Any general observations, perhaps?
Aaron is the Richard Moorcroft of Building 400. You'd be old enough to remember Richard Moorcroft, wouldn't you, Aaron?
I do indeed. You're very kind.
Remember Richard Moorcroft? He's read it. Yeah, Caitlin's shaking her head.
I don't think anyone's popped their hand up at the moment. Any final observations, Mark, that you'd like to add, perhaps?
Oh, no, I think this is a difficult PhD project. Yeah, I think Caitlin, Simon, and myself, and Ayesha, yeah, it's taken a while to get the chapters firmed up. I think we've got a good red thread, a good story to tell so far. It'll probably change by the time we finish, but at the moment it's following a logical pathway. Sorry, Dave's got a question.
Yeah. Yes.
G'day everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear, Aaron?
Yes, we can hear you great. Thanks, Dave.
Maybe just kind of thinking about that connection between what you might be working on in Victoria and from the data from New Zealand. So maybe you can elaborate a bit more on what kind of data is collected, if any, in Bangladesh by any of either the big companies over there or the government there that you might be able to put that methodology to. Maybe you could just explain that a bit, and that will help clear out, like, you know, clarify how that methodology might work.
The MINDA approach in Bangladesh.
Yeah. So what data is currently already collected in Bangladesh, if any, and then that might help us understand, or the audience understand, how the different approaches or methodologies that you're going to test in Australia or in this New Zealand data could be used over there.
There is a difference, just like MINDA approach, that they are in the one umbrella, all the farm. But in Bangladesh, because we are developing different type of projects are running, they are collecting or recording their data by their own, which is the purposive collecting of data. Because some are collecting the data on the priority of the anthrax, or some are collecting their data maybe on the poultry herd, but there is no combination. Most of the time in Bangladesh, they record the data from hospital, the vet hospital. Send a monthly report, and they count the report how many diseases they have. So as the vet, as I have shown the road workflow, that there will be so many chance of miss the recorded data. So this may also happen in Bangladesh. Not also happen, it's happen in Bangladesh. The data, as we depend on not in a homogeneous platform. So they are doing, when I can say an example with FAO, they are collecting their data they're running their own project. And at the same time, World Bank are collecting their data. They're running the same project. So I think there is a gap in our in not only Bangladesh, in all the developing country, for making a combination between these two.
All right, nice. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Dave. A number of people have put in encouraging messages for you, Ayesha, on, for your project, which is wonderful. Do we have any additional questions or observations?
I have one friend. He's not our vet school, but he's in Unival. She's there. It's okay.
If we don't have any additional questions, we might, if you might join me in thanking Ayesha for an excellent presentation. Yes, round of applause, and wish her all the best for what's going to be a very interesting PhD project. And thank you to Mark for introducing today, and for Caitlin for her technology. And thank you to Ayesha. And we might finish up there, everyone. Thank you for Zooming in today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, everyone.